Hey guys, tonight we begin with something uniquely dreadful. You're about to wake up in the year 536 a year. Some historians have called the worst time to be alive. Why? Because when you open your eyes this morning, it's still dark. The sun isn't up. Not yet. Not at dawn. Not at noon. And no, you're not dreaming. This isn't a late eclipse or a dense fog. This is year two of the sky's great vanishing act. The sun has disappeared behind a thick ashy veil that stretches from horizon to horizon. No matter where you are on Earth, in a Norse village, a Byzantine alley, or a hut in Central Asia, the light is gone. The birds haven't chirped in weeks. The bees have vanished. The trees have stopped blooming, and you haven't seen your shadow in months. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You wake in a straw bed that smells like smoke and sweat. It's midsummer, but your breath clouds the air like it's late November. Your blanket, a coarse sheet made from worn linen, clings to you like damp paper. It's not helping. Nothing helps. Someone's coughing. It's your brother, maybe your neighbor. The sound cuts through the stillness, dry and rattling, echoing across the one-room shack you call home. No one lights a candle. There's no need. The darkness is uniform permanent. Why waste a wick? You're 24, which in this era makes you a village elder. The children call you old, though you haven't seen a wrinkle yet. But your joints ache like you've been working since the Roman Empire fell. Spoiler, you have. Or at least your parents did. And now it's your turn to survive the aftermath. You dress slowly. Layers of coarse wool that scratch your skin raw. Not for fashion, obviously. You're not trying to impress anyone in a world where no one smiles anymore. It's for the cold. That's the thing no one prepared you for. Summer should be planting season, but this summer feels like a late frost that just refuses to leave. You step outside into a world smothered in silence and soot. The sky is a dull gray, not overcast, but clogged, like someone draped the heavens in wet wool and forgot to cut holes for the stars. Sunlight should be spilling across the village square by now. Instead, there's a kind of lifeless twilight. The trees are bare. Even the weeds gave up, and you feel it in your lungs. Every breath is a scratch. The air's full of dust, fine particles that coat your throat and settle in your hair. No one knows why. Some say the gods are angry. Others blame demons, or sins, or foreign traders. No one says volcano, because you don't know what a volcano is. But somewhere in Iceland, a mountain erupted. And now the entire planet is coughing. Here's a scholarly debate. Was it one eruption, or two, or three? Did a volcano in El Salvador join the party? No one can say with certainty. Not in 536, and not even in 2025. What you know is this: you haven't seen a normal sky in over a year. You shuffle to the edge of the village and find your neighbors doing what they always do, pretending it's normal. Someone's trying to bake something. The fire sputters in the damp, oxygen-starved air. You can smell the smoke more than the food. A child sits beside the fire pit, picking at his feet. He has no shoes. No one does. An old woman hunches near the well, whispering to herself. She mutters prayers in a language you don't recognize, though it's probably a regional variant of desperation. People are quiet now. They stopped singing weeks ago. The silence feels sacred and wrong at the same time. You ask about the sun. Again, the reply is the same. Maybe tomorrow. But tomorrow is exactly like today. Dim, cold, endless. Let's talk about sleep. It's harder now. Your body doesn't know when to rest. Time is strange when there's no day. People wake at odd hours. They farm by guesswork. Meals happen whenever someone finds something edible, which is rare. Your circadian rhythm has packed up and left, and with it, your sanity is starting to fray. You hear things in the night, dogs barking at nothing, voices carried on the wind. Sometimes you think you see flickers of light in the woods, but it might just be hunger playing tricks. Someone says a neighboring village burned down. Someone else says they froze. Both stories might be true. No one sends messengers anymore. Roads are dangerous. Wolves are bolder. So are desperate people. By mid-afternoon, which still looks like early dusk, you've given up trying to feel warm. You sit on a log, gnawing the last of your dried apples. They taste like bark and disappointment. You used to complain about apples. Now you'd trade your shoes for another handful. When the darkness finally deepens, yes, it gets even darker, you retreat indoors. There's nothing left to do. No work, no celebration, no songs. Just the hollow sound of wind and your own stomach reminding you it's not full. It hasn't been for weeks. You curl into your corner of the room, tucking your knees under your chin. Your bones feel too sharp, your skin too thin. Outside, the ash falls again. Soft, silent, and endless. Like snow from hell. You fall asleep without realizing it. And when you wake up tomorrow, it'll be just as dark, just as cold, and somehow worse. You wake again, but it might as well be the same day. The same gray sky, the same silence. But your breath catches the moment you inhale. Something is off. The air stinks. Not the usual musty, wet wool and fungus kind of stink that you've grown used to. This is acrid metallic, like old blood, or smoke from a fire that burned something it shouldn't. You step outside and see it black soot scattered on your doorstep, feather light but foul. A dog nearby is barking at nothing again, howling into a sky that refuses to change. Someone across the road is coughing loud, ragged, and wet, the kind of cough that echoes and lingers. That's when you feel it in your chest, a weight, a pressure. The air isn't just gloomy now, it's poison. You're breathing in dust that's scraped across a continent. Fine volcanic ash, invisible to the eye, but rougher than sandpaper in your lungs. You cough once, twice. You tell yourself it's nothing. You're lying to yourself. Ash from the eruption, or eruptions if the scholars are right, has spread across the northern hemisphere. Iceland. Maybe Central America. Maybe both. The fine particles linger in the stratosphere, blocking sunlight and dragging down the world's immune system with it. But you don't know the science. You just know your neighbors are dying younger. The healer says it's the bad spirits in the air. Others say it's a punishment for abandoning the old gods. Still more say it's the Christians, or the pagans, or the traders from across the Black Sea. Blame is the one thing you have plenty of. You walk to the village edge, past the little shrine that used to have offerings. They're gone now. The goddess statue has cracked, her face worn down by soot and grief. Someone scrawled a prayer into the mud wall beside her. You can't read it, but you recognize desperation in every jagged line. Even the birds are gone. No chirping, no flapping, just sky like wet stone and silence like a scream with the sound removed. You start to notice other things now. Rot, mold, mildew creeping up the walls of your hut, curling across your wooden spoon. clinging to the edges of your food bag. The air is damp in a way it's not supposed to be, in a way that feels wrong even to your skin. Your bread spoiled, your water cloudy, your breath shorter. You try to help gather kindling, but the wood is damp too. It never dries anymore. Nothing dries. The sun can't reach the ground, so everything rots. People start coughing even more. Your little cousin's eyes are red-rimmed. She hasn't spoken since last month. You don't know why. You used to dream about leaving this village. Now, you'd give anything to keep it from vanishing. Let's talk about what's actually in the air sulfur dioxide mostly. Scientists, centuries later, will confirm it from ice cores in Greenland and Antarctica. They'll point to 536 as one of the worst volcanic winters in recorded history. But you don't need a lab. You've got your lungs, and they're telling you the same story. A fringe theory suggests the ash cloud wasn't even from a volcano, but from a comet impact. You'd love to know which is true. But in your world, there are no telescopes, no satellites, just burned skies and burned out hope. You trudge toward the stream. You used to fetch water here. Now you're hoping it hasn't gone foul. A thin sheen clings to the surface oil-like. You skim your cup across it, hoping you don't swallow something that bites back. You do anyway. Back in the village, people have started whispering about the next valley over. Everyone there's gone, says one woman. Even the sheep. You wonder if it's true. You hope it's not. But part of you doesn't want to go check. You're sitting by the fire when your neighbor lumbers up, coughing eyes rimmed with something yellow. You felt it too, he asks. You nod. The air? He spits into the dirt. The phlegm is thick and dark. Then he says it. The thing no one has wanted to say out loud. Something's in the sky, something angry. And you believe him. That night you dream of ash falling like snow, blanketing everything, roofs, trees, people. You dream of breathing it in until your lungs become stone. You wake gasping. You're not the only one. The healer's hut is full now, full of coughing, shaking, bleeding villagers. She mixes herbs and ash, hoping the bad cancels itself out. It doesn't. A boy dies before noon. No one digs his grave. There's no strength left for burial. So you sit beside the body and light a candle that costs too much wax. You're not sure if it's for the boy or for yourself. Even the candlelight looks dull. Let's not forget, this is a global phenomenon. From Scandinavia to China, the stories are the same. Darkness, cold, sickness. Chinese records speak of yellow mists and failing harvests. Byzantine chroniclers write of the sun as eclipsed for over a year. The Irish annals simply say, a failure of bread. You're living through a worldwide catastrophe without the word worldwide. You think your village is cursed, but really, the planet's been punched in the gut. The sun sets, though it never really rose, and the night creeps in again like a thief, cold and damp and full of breathless dread. You lie back down exhausted, covered in smoke, ribs poking through skin. You cough once more before sleep. The air is getting worse, and so are you. You dream of warmth. Just once in the hazy, flickering half-sleep between hunger and full exhaustion, your body imagines a day when the sun burned your skin and you wished for shade. But the moment you stir eyes, fluttering open in the bitter, unmoving dark, the cold returns. Not just around you, but inside you. It's not winter. It's worse. Your bones ache from the damp. Your teeth chatter even when you're sitting by a fire. Your hands, once calloused from honest work, are pale stiff and split open at the knuckles. You wrap them in cloth, but the fabric is damp too. Everything is. The inside of your hut feels like a root cellar after a flood. And it's only July. This isn't supposed to happen. But nothing is as it's supposed to be. You step outside, and a cold wind slices through your wool tunic like it's made of mist. The sky above still hasn't changed flat lightless endlessly the color of old ash. And the ground below has begun to resist you too. You trudge through mud where dry paths once ran. No dew, no rain. Just endless damp. Moisture that creeps into everything and never leaves. The world is stuck in a season that doesn't exist. Not spring, not fall. Something worse. A shadow season that came uninvited and refuses to go. Crops are failing everywhere. The barley you planted in April, still stunted. The wheat never sprouted. The apple trees dropped hard, tiny fruit long before they ripened. No bees, no pollen, no harvest. Let's talk about your food. This morning you chew bark. Literally. You'd heard about it from an older neighbor who once survived a famine decades ago. Scrape the inner bark, she said. Boil it. Pretend it's bread. So you did. And now your stomach is filled with boiled tree and wishful thinking. It tastes like damp parchment and regret. Most of your neighbors have moved on to boiling shoe leather or grinding up dried nettles to make a paste. Anything to fill the gut, anything to fool the body for one more day, one more week, one more silent, starving moon cycle. You pass a man you once traded tools with. He's crouched beside his own home, staring into an empty pot like it might apologize. His cheeks are hollow. His eyes are distant. His hands tremble from the effort of staying upright. He doesn't greet you. He doesn't blink. You understand. You've stopped greeting people too. Let's check in with the rest of the world. In Ireland, the Annals of Ulster note a failure of bread from the years 536-539. In China, the Book of Wei records yellow snow in summer. In Mesopotamia, markets collapse. And across the Eastern Empire, grain prices skyrocket to numbers only the gods can afford. There is no somewhere better. You are already in the better place, and it is dying slowly. At midday, you help dig up your half-rotten storage pit, praying for something edible. You find 2 moldy carrots and a tuber so soft it screams when you touch it. You wash them in cold stream water that now smells like iron and decay. It is the best meal you'll have this week. You eat it under a clouded sky that offers neither sun nor rain, just an eternal gray that presses into your skull like a headache made of wool. The worst part, you're not even starving yet. Not really. You've still got body fat to burn. Still have bones you can feel, but not count. But others, the children are going first. Quietly, like shadows. They stop playing, then stop speaking, then stop waking up. The parents, they cry the first time. The second time they don't. There is no strength for grief anymore. Only motion, only survival. You once dreamed of building a new workshop. Now you dream of soup, a full bowl, with things floating in it. You're not sure if the floating things are real food or just hallucinations. Someone whispers that the rich towns over the mountains are still eating meat. You don't believe them. But you wonder. You consider walking there, but your shoes are nearly gone. Your legs shake just from squatting. And the mountain paths are said to be full of wolves now, not just 4-legged ones. The other kind, too. The 2-legged kind. Let's pause for a quirky fact. Historians have debated whether a comet, not a volcano, might have caused this mystery cloud that plunged the world into darkness. Some say it hit the upper atmosphere, scattering particles like a cosmic sneeze. Others claim it broke apart its shards, igniting vast wildfires. You know none of this, but you feel it. The world is broken. Skies don't work. Trees don't grow. Food doesn't come. Everything has stopped being reliable, including your own body. Your nails grow weird, brittle, yellowing. Your hair starts falling out. You blame age, but you're only in your 20s. Your gums bleed when you chew. Your skin flakes. Your body is trying to live in a world that no longer follows its own rules. You pray, even if you didn't used to, even if you didn't believe. You do now, not because you think it'll help, but because silence has stopped working, and the cold. The cold has no right to be here. The goats won't stop shivering. They eat their own bedding. You hear one bleeding at night, and you know it won't be alive by morning. You wonder if you'll have the strength to butcher it. You wonder if anyone will try to stop you. You wonder if you care. That night, you huddle beside the fire again, what little flame you can coax from the damp, splintered wood. You're not sure if the shaking is from hunger or fear, or the cold that never leaves your bones. But it doesn't matter. Your world is no longer measured in days, only in how many are left. It's morning again. Not that you'd know from looking outside. The sky still hangs like a sack of soot overhead, heavy and unmoving. The birds are still gone, the bees too. But your stomach doesn't care about any of that. It growls with purpose, loudly, rudely. You clutch your middle and mutter something between a curse and a prayer. Today's goal is the same as yesterday's find food. Not enjoy food. Not cook, taste, share, or savor. Just find it. Anything vaguely edible. Anything that won't make you violently sick. Or that might make you violently sick, but at least fills your belly for the next few hours. The field you stumble into used to be wheat. Now it's a patchy graveyard of withered stalks, twisted roots, and frozen clods of earth. This is supposed to be harvest season, but the ground won't give. You try to pry up a leftover turnip. It snaps in half like a cold bone. Even the weeds are wilted. You consider foraging in the woods, but there's nothing left there either. The berries are long gone. The mushrooms all look suspicious, and the last time someone tried eating one, they didn't wake up. The woods also have eyes, animal eyes. And worse, you remember that trader who passed through last month mumbling about wolf packs near the old road. He said the animals were starving bold and not afraid of humans anymore. Then he bit into a slice of hard cheese and passed you by. You haven't seen him since. There's no cheese now either. Let's take a moment to honor your breakfast. If you can call it that. It consists of stale, cracked barley gruel. No salt, no fat, no garnish. It tastes like boiled regret with a hint of mildew. You scrape it from the bottom of a soot-blackened pot and pretend it's warm. It's not. You've eaten wall paste that was less depressing. A fringe detail from historical sources tells us that during these years of failed crops, mold-contaminated grain wasn't just common, it was practically all you had. Ergot, a fungus that grows on wet rye, often found its way into flour. It causes nausea, hallucinations, gangrene, and in large enough doses a trip to the afterlife you didn't book. You don't know what ergot is. You just know your hands are numb again, and the bread has black specks. You eat it anyway. So does the toddler 2 huts over. He cries as he chews. No one tries to stop him. It's all there is. You think about livestock. What's left of it? The village's last pig was slaughtered 3 weeks ago. Everyone shared. Everyone wept. Some out of gratitude, some out of guilt. You're still not sure how many hands actually helped carry the carcass in, but many helped carry it out in pieces. There's talk of more animals in the hills, but the hills are too far, and the people who go there either come back limping or not at all. And still, you're luckier than some. In Constantinople, food prices are higher than the city walls. A loaf of bread costs a silver coin, if you can find one. The Emperor Justinian is busy planning new laws and rebuilding churches, but the people are starving. They eat dogs, cats. The rats flee the city, and no one blames them. In the Frankish kingdoms, hunger turns to madness. There are rumors, always whispered, never confirmed, of children vanishing, of meat pies that no one asks questions about, of travelers going missing on roads they've walked 100 times. Some say it's highwaymen. Others say it's hunger with a face. Back in your village, you gnaw a piece of bark again, just a sliver. It does nothing. Then you try chewing leather, the edge of your boot. You spit it out before you even get through the top layer of grime. In desperation, you walk toward the stream. The water is low now, lower than it should be. The mud banks have widened. A goat carcass lies near the bend rib showing. You poke at it. It's too far gone. You know because you've eaten worse. Let's take a scholarly detour. Archaeologists studying skeletons from the 530s and 540s have found signs of extreme malnutrition, stunted growth, bowed legs, bone lesions from vitamin deficiencies. Even the rich showed signs of scurvy. You never thought you'd miss scurvy. You thought that was a sailor's disease. But now, even landlocked villagers like you have bleeding gums and teeth that wiggle when you talk. You try not to talk much anymore. In the afternoon, someone brings news. The next town over got a shipment of dried fish. From the coast. 5 days away. Maybe 7 if you're weak. You consider going. Then you remember your cracked heel and your missing toenail and the blister that turned black yesterday. You stay. That night, a neighbor doesn't wake up. You help carry the body out, wrap it in a blanket no one can afford to spare. There's no priest anymore. He left, or died, or turned silent and refused to speak to anyone. Now, you just say a few words and bury the dead beneath frozen dirt. You do it quickly. If you leave the body out, the dogs will come. The real dogs, and maybe the others. As you fall asleep on your cold cot, your stomach aches so fiercely it becomes a kind of rhythm. A drumbeat of pain. You hope you dream of food tonight. You hope you don't wake up. Because tomorrow's breakfast, it'll be worse. The coughing has changed. You notice it first in your cousin, the little one with the big eyes, and the habit of chewing on pine bark. Her cough used to be dry and sharp, like clearing a throat that never quite cleared. But now it's wet, rattling. There's blood on her lip when she wipes her mouth. She hides it in her sleeve. The healer says it's just the cold that she'll recover if she rests. But the truth lies heavy in everyone's silence. You've heard this cough before. Last winter, your neighbor's wife had it. She was gone in 2 days. The sickness is spreading, but no one says plague not yet. That word still belongs to fairy tales and holy wrath. But whatever this is, it's growing stronger. You get the chills even when you're close to the fire. You wrap yourself in 2 cloaks and still feel ice under your skin. You haven't felt truly warm in months. And food. Well, let's talk about what you didn't eat today. The scraps of gruel burned in the bottom of the pot. The rat caught in the trap, already swarmed by flies when you reached it. The cabbage root that turned out to be just a rock, covered in mold. So you drank broth. More accurately, hot water that once sat near a bone. It gave you a headache, maybe from the hunger, maybe from the ash that still floats in the air like cursed snow. Here's the cruel irony of this year. No matter what you do, you get weaker. You could stay home and starve. You could go out and collapse. You could try to trade something you don't have with someone who's also running out. Every choice ends in exhaustion. People are starting to disappear. Not all at once and not dramatically. Just fading. You wake up and hear that the man who lived in the hut by the well is gone. No one saw him leave. No one heard a struggle. He just vanished. Maybe he wandered into the woods. Maybe he curled up in a ditch. Maybe he gave up. And the worst part, you get it. You really do. In Constantinople, the emperor's advisors are panicking. Not because of what's happening now, but because of what they suspect is coming. The Eastern Roman Empire is struggling to keep the grain fleets running. Egypt's harvest has failed. Again. And when Egypt fails, everyone fails. Emperor Justinian, to his credit, tries. He organizes aid, sends out relief grain, pushes construction projects to keep men working. But how do you rebuild when the ground itself is broken? How do you inspire people when even the sun refuses to show up? Back in your village, people are starting to believe the world has ended and no one told them. You've heard mutterings about judgment, about Ragnarok, about the wrath of saints or angels or gods who have had enough. One boy claims to have seen the sun bleeding through the clouds last week. Another says the moon split in two, then rejoined before dawn. You want to scoff, but part of you wonders, when the world breaks this badly, does it even matter what's true? The chickens stopped laying. The goats miscarried. The cows, what few are left, stand motionless in the fields like they're listening to something you can't hear. One of them keeled over yesterday, and no one even rushed to butcher it. Everyone was too tired. It just lay there bloated and still until the dogs arrived. You tried to scare them off, but your voice cracked. Even the dogs didn't flinch. Let's squeeze in a peculiar historical tidbit. In the Silla Kingdom of Korea, there are records of snow falling in midsummer, and in Mesopotamia, the chroniclers write of a sun that gave no warmth. These are not poetic flourishes. They're panic scribbled into parchment, desperate attempts to understand a world that suddenly forgot how to function. You climb to a ridge near the village looking out at the forest, or what's left of it. The trees are bare. The stream is thin, and the horizon looks like it's been erased. You sit there chewing on a stick, not because you think it's food, but because your jaw misses motion. You feel hollow, less human than you were last month. You've stopped talking to yourself. Even your thoughts are quieter. Everything is winding down, slowing, as if the world is gently turning off. You startle when you hear singing. Actual singing. A woman's voice, low and trembling, carries from somewhere near the mill. You don't recognize the tune. Maybe it's a prayer. Maybe a lullaby. You almost don't want to find out. It's too strange to spoil. But you walk toward it anyway. You find the singer kneeling by the remains of a fire, feeding the flames with bits of dried moss. She nods at you, doesn't stop singing. You sit beside her without asking, and for a few minutes you both just exist. No words, no food, no explanations, just cold company beneath a dying sky. That night you lie on your mat, hand resting on your ribs. You can count them now. The coughs come more often. Yours are dry, for now. But that won't last. You know what's coming. You just don't know when. And still absurdly, You hope tomorrow brings something better. Not a miracle. Just less bad. A sky that's not the color of bruises. A bowl that's not empty. A cough that doesn't echo. But for now, you close your eyes and try not to dream of smoke. You've stopped asking what day it is. There's no point. The sun hasn't shown its face in over a year, and the moon, when it bothers to appear, looks like a pale smudge behind layers of ash. Time no longer feels like a line. It's a circle, or maybe a spiral. One long, cold loop of waking, wandering, coughing, sleeping, and dreaming. That's new. You've started dreaming in color again, but the colors are wrong. Sickly purples, cracked greens, skies that burn crimson and then vanish. You dream of fields that bloom and rot in the same breath, of birds that fall from the air mid-flight, of your family all standing still, eyes wide, unmoving, like carved statues. You wake up sweating, which is strange because it's still freezing. Outside, the world looks even more washed out than yesterday, if such a thing is possible. Like someone took the entire planet and scrubbed it with a soapy rag. Even the shadows are pale. You're not the only one feeling strange. The village is quieter now, not just from hunger or grief, but from confusion. People are starting to forget things. Names, days, what comes after dusk, what meals used to taste like. You try to remember the sound of summer wind rustling leaves. You can't. Your brother used to whistle when he worked. You haven't heard that sound in months. Even laughter feels like something that belongs to someone else. Today you walk the perimeter of the village, not for any real reason. It's just something to do. Your legs need the motion. Your mind needs the illusion of purpose. The fields are dead. Again, you see a crow pecking at the remains of a goat carcass. It stops, looks at you, and doesn't fly away. Just stares, like it's daring you to come closer. You don't. You spot footprints in the snowless dirt, barefoot, too small to be an adult. They disappear near the old tree line. You don't follow them. You don't follow them. Back home, you find your mother trying to stretch soup out of nothing. Water weeds the last crumb of dried lard, and a rock she swears adds flavor. You know she's lying, but you nod anyway. You drink it. The warmth tricks your stomach into gratitude. You pretend not to taste the mud. Let's drift away from your misery for a second and look at the bigger picture. In China, records from the Northern Wei dynasty describe yellow clouds, crop failures, and mass displacement. In Ireland, the land has stopped yielding. Even in the warmer southern Mediterranean, people are praying for rain and light and some form of relief that doesn't come. The whole northern hemisphere is off kilter, a multi-year cold snap. Some historians now believe global average temperatures dropped by more than 2 degrees C. That might not sound like much, but to your ancestors, that meant apocalypse. Not metaphorically, literally. A few years later, a Byzantine historian will write that a most dread portent took place. For the sun gave forth its light without brightness. You'd say the same if you could write, if you had parchment, if anyone cared to read it. You crouch beside the hearth and warm your hands. Your nails are turning gray at the edges. You hide them in your sleeves. Your cousin isn't coughing anymore. That's not good news. The healer came this morning. Didn't say much. Just left a bundle of dried something on the table and pressed your mother's hand. You didn't ask what it was for. You already know. Your cousin lies in the corner, pale as ash. Her breath sounds like a bellows with a tear in it. You hold her hand when you can. When she's not too hot to touch. When she's not too cold to wake. There's a theory centuries from now that climate disruption weakens populations so thoroughly that even minor diseases become mass killers. And when a real plague shows up, like the one that's already boarding ships in the south, it finds a buffet of weakened hosts. Your body doesn't know the theory, but it knows you haven't had meat in 3 months, haven't stood straight in 2, haven't smiled in 1. It knows you're ready to fall over if the wind ever picks up. Later, you sit with the old men near the communal fire. They tell stories to keep themselves from falling asleep too early. One speaks of a time when summers were hot and the river ran clear and berries grew wild on the hill. Another mutters about the long winter before, though no one remembers exactly which one that was. You ask how old they are. One shrugs. Old enough. Another just says, older than now. You wonder if you'll ever be old. That night, the sky glows faintly. Not with sunlight. With something else. An aurora, maybe. Red and green ribbons that flicker like ghost fire. Someone screams that it's the end. That angels are descending. That the earth is splitting. You just stare. Too tired to be afraid. The light fades. And then there's only black again. The kind you can taste. You curl on your mat. The little cousin still hasn't moved. Tomorrow, you'll try to trade for herbs. Or linen. Or time. But tonight all you can do is lie there. Breathing shallow. Counting the coughs. 1, 2, 3. Hers. Yours. And silence. The horse dies at dawn. No one hears it fall, only the dull thud of its body hitting frozen mud. By the time you get there, it's already stiff. The breath has left its nostrils. Its eyes are open, but unseeing like everything else this year. This was the village's last working animal. The one creature still strong enough to pull a cart or turn a mill. Not anymore. You stand over the body for a long while not moving. Not because you're shocked, it's hard to feel shocked these days, but because you're calculating. How much meat is left? Whether the hooves are salvageable for glue. Whether the hide's too far gone to strip. You're not alone. By midday, the horse is gone, taken in pieces. Quietly. No ceremony. No prayer. It vanishes like all good things do now, swiftly, and without thanks. You didn't get any. But someone needed it more. The horses are dying everywhere. You overheard it from a traveler who passed through yesterday, thin as a scarecrow, too weak to trade but strong enough to speak. In the cities to the east, they're eating oxen, camels, donkeys, anything that can be boiled or burned, even dogs. You don't ask what happens when those run out. In faraway Tibet, if you knew where Tibet was, you'd hear that the snow came early and never left. Livestock froze standing up. Entire herds were found like sculptures, horns, hooves, and icicles. Traders trying to cross the mountains simply vanished. No one crosses the mountains anymore. But you wouldn't know that. You just feel it in the way the wind doesn't stop now. The wind always used to pause, catch its breath, shift directions. Now it simply pushes. Always forward, always cold. Today the healer's door is shut. That usually means one thing: she's working on the dead, or preparing to join them. Her hut smells like resin and fever. Your cousin hasn't spoken in 2 days. She wheezes in her sleep, every breath a gamble. You keep your hand near her face sometimes just to check if it's still warm. Once you weren't sure, you lit a candle and waited an hour before she moved again. You don't know if you felt relief or disappointment. Let's talk about water, because you still need it. And lately, it's become a risk. The stream, once clear and sweet, now runs sluggish and cloudy. Someone said upstream, there's been another animal dump. Dead livestock tossed into the current, too much work to bury. Now the water smells like rust and old cabbage. So you boil it. If you can find firewood. Today you can't. You drink it cold. You'll pay for that tomorrow. Later, a woman you barely know knocks on your door. She's wrapped in layers of mismatched cloth, her face half covered. She offers you a single dried fish. It smells strong enough to make your eyes sting. But you nod, say thank you, and accept it like it's gold. You don't ask where it came from. She doesn't say. In Constantinople, there are riots. The grain stores have been locked. The docks are silent. The emperor's officials, still in polished sandals and clean robes, walk the streets with guards. But they walk fast. Even they know what hunger does. Here's a fringe historical theory: when animals begin dying en masse, not from disease, but from climate shock and famine, human societies shift. Priorities collapse. Trade stops. Empires flinch. You're not part of an empire, but you're flinching just the same. Your clothes barely fit now. You've tightened the belt twice this month, but your tunic still slips at the shoulders. You haven't seen your reflection in anything but muddy water, but you suspect your face has changed. Sharper, hollowed, less like a person, more like a ghost with eyebrows. In the evening, you hear someone wailing. You know the voice. It's the old man from the hill. His daughter died last week. Now his son has vanished. Not run off, just gone. No one saw where. The hut was empty this morning. You don't go to comfort him. You don't go at all. Empathy used to be natural. Now it's a luxury. You need all your warmth for yourself. Let's dip into something strange. In Scandinavian sagas, there's mention of a long, dark year where the sun turned black and crops failed. Some think it's poetic license. Others think it's a memory of 536. Back at home, your cousin stops breathing again. You don't panic. You lean close. You wait. 30 seconds later, she gasps, wet and ragged, and keeps going. You mark that as a win. You chew half the fish tonight. Save the rest. You used to eat without thinking. Now every bite is a decision. Before you sleep, you hear wolves howling again. This time closer. No one checks the fences anymore. You wrap yourself in the stiff blanket, close your eyes, and pretend tomorrow might be warmer. It won't. But you pretend anyway. You've forgotten what the sun feels like. Not metaphorically, literally. You step outside and stare at the sky, hoping, praying, begging that today, maybe just today, you'll see the old gold again. That warm, full light that once made shadows stretch and colors bloom. You remember it from your childhood. Or maybe that was a dream. You're not sure anymore. Today, the sky is the same pale gray, stretched thin like animal hide over a dying fire. But somehow, it feels even darker. Not like dusk or dawn, no poetry left in it. Just absence. As if light is something the world ran out of and never bothered to replace. You tilt your face upward. Nothing happens. The sky gives you nothing. You feel nothing. In your village, people have stopped talking about when the sun comes back. They've stopped mentioning seasons entirely. Summer didn't happen. Neither did spring. The year has become a blur of cold mornings and colder nights. Crops have not returned. Trees have not leafed. Flowers have not bloomed. Everything is waiting. But for what? A child cries somewhere nearby. A thin, whimpering sound that trails off too quickly. You don't move toward it. You know that sound. It means hunger, or fever, or both. You're not sure how many children are left. You've also stopped keeping track of funerals. Once you wept at each one. Then you helped dig. Then you just stood at the edge. Now you stay inside. Let the whales come and go like wind. Let's talk about color, because there isn't any. Your tunic used to be brown. Your neighbor's cloak was once red. The wood of your door had streaks of warm golden grain. Now everything has turned the same shade soot. Soot-colored sky, soot-colored walls, soot-colored faces. Even your dreams are in gray now. You hear whispers that the sun is gone for good, that it was swallowed by a dragon, or cursed by a dead king, or stolen by the people of the underworld. Someone says it's a sign of the end times. Someone else says it's punishment for human pride. You wonder if they're all right, or all wrong. There's a curious detail from Chinese records. Around this time, they say, yellow dust rained from the sky. It wasn't ash. Not quite. More like a fine powder constant, inescapable. Some historians now believe it was a mix of volcanic debris and dry loess lifted by strange wind currents. You don't know the science, but you do know your water tastes like clay now. Your hands are cracked from washing with silt, and your pillow is full of grit, even though you've shaken it 10 times. You sit beside the fire. Not for warmth, there's barely enough wood to sustain a flame, but for the light. Even a weak orange flicker feels luxurious. Your mother says it reminds her of the sun. You don't say anything. You don't remember the sun well enough to agree. At midday, or what used to be midday, you walk toward the hill overlooking the village. You used to go there to watch clouds, to trade, to steal kisses if you were lucky. Now it's just quiet, windy, cold. You meet a woman sitting alone. You know her face, but not her name. No one introduces themselves anymore. She's talking softly, not to you, to someone not there. You sit nearby and don't interrupt, because you've started doing that too. Talking to people who are gone. It's easier than silence. When she finally notices you, she asks a question that sticks with you all day. Do you think the sun left us on purpose? You don't answer. That night, someone tries to light a lantern in the square. It's a small thing. A cloth wick dipped in rendered fat, hung from a post. But for a moment it feels magical. You can actually see faces. Real color, not ash-filtered shapes. People gather near it like moths. They don't speak. They just stare. A child reaches out and touches the base of the flame with 2 fingers. She smiles, and then cries. You watch the light flicker in the wind. You know it won't last. Nothing does. That night, you lie in your corner knees, pulled to your chest. Your breath is shallow. Your chest aches. But you keep your eyes open, staring at the rafters, hoping that when morning comes, you'll see gold. The bread has gone sour. It used to just be stale dry, dense hard enough to chip a tooth. But now it stinks. You unwrap the cloth, and the smell hits like a slap-sour rot old milk, something that used to be edible, but now might make you sick. You're not sure if the gray fuzz is flour or mold. You scrape it off and eat it anyway. The first bite makes your jaw ache. The second goes down dry. By the third, you don't even notice the taste. Your body is too desperate to protest. Someone nearby is eating bark again. Someone else is chewing on old leather, trying to soften it in their mouth before swallowing. You don't judge them, because you've done it too. Today's task is to look for food, like every day. But now the desperation is different. It's not about rationing anymore. It's about risk. The old flour sack in the corner might be moldy. The broth that's been sitting for 2 days might have gone bad. The apples buried in the pit out back might be frozen solid, or fermented, or worse. But you eat them anyway, because hunger doesn't care about expiration dates. Let's talk about mold. You've met all its forms now. Blue mold white fuzz, gray crusts that grow overnight. You've learned to identify which ones make you vomit, which ones make you hallucinate, and which ones just make you feel slightly worse than usual. But there's a new kind now. Black. It creeps in corners, lives on damp walls. Some say it spreads in your lungs. The healer doesn't know what to do with it. She just burns the affected rags and mutters prayers you've never heard before. You've stopped using your root cellar. Everything in it turned to mush weeks ago. Now you just bury your food under stones and hope the dogs don't smell it first. You wake one night to find a rat chewing at your bread stash. You scare it off with a shout and a thrown shoe. You're not sure which of you is more desperate. There's a fringe historical tidbit that ergot-contaminated rye can induce mass hallucinations. Some scholars think this may have fueled visions, strange behavior, even hysteria in entire communities. Dancing plagues, witch trials, or simply dreams that feel too vivid, too sharp. You've started dreaming more. Dreams of food that never ends. Tables stacked with steaming bowls, plates of fruit rivers of cream and honey. You chew in your sleep. Sometimes you wake with a sore jaw. Sometimes you cry. Once you bit your own hand. You try foraging in the woods again. It's worse than last time. The mushrooms are pale and shriveled, the bark stripped from every reachable tree. Even the moss looks sick. You find a single bird's nest. Empty. You used to know which berries were safe. Now there are no berries at all. You come back empty-handed. Your neighbor is boiling dandelion roots. You sit with her in silence and share the last of your dried turnip. She gives you half a ladle of her root soup. It tastes like dirt and hope. Later you hear someone yelling near the well. Two men fighting over a sack. You don't know what's inside. Doesn't matter. You don't try to stop them. No one does. One of them falls. Doesn't get up. The other drags the sack away. Everyone goes back to pretending they didn't see it. In cities, this behavior would be called lawlessness. In your village, it's survival. Let's zoom out. In the Eastern Empire, grain has become political. Factions fight over shiploads. Senators bribe guards to protect their warehouses. Farmers abandon their fields and head to cities only to find death waiting there too. You can't imagine such wealth or such waste. Here even moldy oats are a blessing. The children in the village don't play anymore. They dig. With sticks, fingers, broken tools. They dig holes and whisper secrets into them. You don't know what they're doing. Maybe it's a game. Maybe they're burying something. Or someone. You walk past one group and one of them hands you a rock. You take it. It's warm from their hand. You smile. It feels wrong. Your cousin she finally ate again? Just broth. Just a sip. But it stayed down. It feels like a victory. You don't say it aloud. You don't want to jinx it. Tonight, you chew the last of your bark. It splinters in your mouth, bitter and dry. You think about that sour bread. Wonder if it's still edible. Wonder if it matters. Because tomorrow, the hunger will come back, and you'll eat it anyway. You bury your cousin in the morning. There's no ceremony, no flowers, no procession. Just two people, yourself and the healer digging in frozen mud with makeshift tools. The ground resists you. Each strike is a battle. Each clump of soil clings to the blade like it doesn't want to let go. The hole is shallow. It has to be. You don't have the strength for deeper. You wrap her in a blanket you once shared. It smells faintly of smoke and mint remnants of those early months when people still lit herbs to ward off the sickness. You carry her to the grave. She doesn't weigh much anymore. The healer says a few words. You don't respond. You press the dirt down with your hands, not thinking, not feeling, just pressing, one handful at a time, until she's gone. Then you walk away. You don't look back. Grief feels like an old coat now, heavy, familiar, always a little damp. In the days that follow, everything becomes quieter, not because the world is healing, but because the noise is gone. The crying has faded. So has the shouting. Even the coughs have lessened, because there are fewer mouths to make them. You're seeing fewer people now. Whole huts are empty. Doors swing open in the wind. You pass by them and try not to look in. Sometimes you see shapes. Sometimes you think you see movement. Sometimes you just walk faster. Let's talk about abandonment. Not the dramatic kind, fleeing in the night torches dropped goats left behind. No, the slow kind. The kind where people stop tending their fires, stop gathering water, stop sweeping their thresholds. One day, they're there. The next, their hut is cold, their bed unmade. Your village is full of ghosts who left their bodies behind. Today, a cart arrives from the hills. You haven't seen one in weeks. It's pulled by two men instead of a horse. The cart creaks. Inside, cloth bundles, sacks, maybe food, maybe something else. You join the small group that gathers around it. No one speaks. The driver, a man with sunken eyes and cracked lips, lifts a sack and opens it. Grain. Real dry grain. You feel your heart quicken. Actual edible grain. Not moldy, not wet, not black with fungus. People start whispering. But then he names his price. It's too much. Laughably too much. A blanket, a knife, a pair of boots for a single sack. You look down at your own boots. One is patched with straw. The other is wrapped in cloth. Still you think about trading, because you haven't eaten anything solid in 2 days. Eventually a man pays. Another follows. Then a woman offers her wedding ring. You didn't even know she had one. She walks away with the grain and you swear she's crying, but from joy or sorrow you can't tell. You don't buy anything. You don't have anything left to give. That night you boil a cracked carrot and pretend it's a feast. You add salt just a pinch, and the flavor nearly makes you weep. You savor each spoonful. You let it linger on your tongue. You lick the bowl clean. Here's a strange historical debate. Some believe this famine directly contributed to the rise of mystical sects and apocalyptic cults across Europe and the Near East. In times of starvation, people want answers. And when the sky itself refuses to explain its silence, they turn to prophets. You've heard the murmurs. Down the road, a man in a tattered robe claims to have spoken with an angel. Says the darkness will lift in 7 months if the village offers a sacrifice, a human sacrifice. No one believes him. Yet, tomorrow someone might, because tomorrow your stomach will be emptier than today. Your hands will shake more. Your thoughts will be slower. And the idea of blaming someone, anyone, might seem like relief. Before you sleep, you think of your cousin. You try to remember her laugh. All you hear is the wind. The fire crackles once, then dies. You lie awake. You count your ribs. You count your breaths. You do not count the days, because you've forgotten what they are. You don't even flinch when the wolves come. Not at first. You hear them howling in the night, close this time behind the old barn. You wait, eyes open in the dark, holding your breath. There are no dogs left to bark, no men left to chase them away. Just you, curled under thin blankets, listening to the teeth in the woods get closer. They don't break through tonight, but they're not afraid anymore. The wolves used to come for chickens. then goats, then anything with meat on it. Now, they come just to look, to test the wind, to remind you that nature has not forgotten how to take back what's hers. You wonder what you'll do when they stop waiting. In the morning, you check the barn. The boards are clawed, deep gouges, fresh ones. Something tried to get in. You step back slowly. There's nothing left in there worth eating. Not for you, not for the wolves. But they don't know that yet. Let's take a moment to appreciate how unnatural this all feels. You've lived your whole life with the rhythm of seasons, sowing, growing, harvesting, resting. But now, there's no rhythm. Just the dragging ache of one long, indistinct misery. It doesn't feel like winter anymore. It feels like the world has stopped rotating. Even your dreams have changed. Last night you dreamt of color. Not objects, just colors. Vivid reds, blues, golds. You woke up sweating breathless, like you'd run from something beautiful. You think your body doesn't know how to process brightness anymore. Let's talk about Justinian. Far away in the shining, bitter marble halls of Constantinople, he is still emperor, still writing laws, still dreaming of Rome reborn. But the empire is cracking beneath him. The grain reserves are low. The fields of Egypt are no longer reliable. The monasteries are taking in the starving, but even saints run out of bread eventually. Justinian sends aid where he can, but aid takes time. And you don't have time. You try to work today, not because there's anything that needs doing, but because your muscles are fading. You walk to the edge of the forest, chop at a sapling with a dull axe. It takes an hour to fell one stick. Your arms tremble afterward. You used to be strong. Now, you're not even sturdy. Your neighbor used to keep bees. You visit the collapsed hive just to remember the sound of buzzing, the smell of honey. Nothing's left. The wax is melted. The combs are blackened. The bees vanished months ago. Maybe they fled. Maybe they froze. Maybe they knew something you didn't. You sit beside the ruined hive and cry. You think you're crying anyway. Your face is too dry to be sure. Let's pause for a quirky bit of history. Some sources from this era speak of the years of no shadows. A poetic phrase, yes, but also practical. Without sunlight, shadows disappeared. Sundials became useless. Even priests didn't know when to ring bells. You've started measuring time by how many times your stomach growls, or how long it takes to boil water, or how many coughs until someone stops breathing. At dusk, the sky turns the color of rotting grapes. Not dark, not light, just sick. You see a boy walking the path out of town, barefoot, carrying a sack over his shoulder. No one calls after him. No one asks where he's going. You wonder if he knows. Later, you sit beside a communal fire. Someone's telling stories again, half memories, half myths. Someone claims they once ate grapes so sweet they made you dizzy. Someone else says they remember swimming in a lake so warm it steamed at dawn. You try to picture it. You can't. Your head throbs. Your mouth tastes like old metal. You haven't eaten anything today. You might not eat tomorrow either. Someone offers you half a boiled onion. You almost cry. You take it. You chew slowly. It tastes like sunlight. You thank them. They nod. That night you wake suddenly. Not from cold. Not from hunger. From silence. Too much silence. Even the wolves are quiet now. You lie still. Listening. Waiting. For something. Anything. Even the sound of your own heartbeat. But it's faint now. Like everything else. The road is quiet. Too quiet. You don't remember the last time a trader came through. No jingling harnesses, no creaking carts, no shouts of greeting, no whispered negotiations over barrels of salt or stale cheese. The path leading out of your village is overgrown, now half swallowed by weeds, as if even the land wants to forget that anything used to pass this way. But today, a rumor reaches you. A traveler stumbled in from the east, rag-wrapped and frostbitten, mumbling about cities, starving markets, emptied ships, refusing to dock. The Silk Road, the artery that once pumped pepper and porcelain and silk from one end of the known world to the other, has stopped breathing. Trade is dead, not dying. Dead. You remember once holding a sliver of cinnamon bark, sharp and warm-smelling. You remember ginger tea in winter. You remember silk ribbon wrapped around a nobleman's gift. All gone now. Those are fairy tales. No one deals in spices anymore. Now the most valuable item is firewood. After that, salt. After that, anything that doesn't rot within the hour. There's talk that the emperor's plural, because this is a time of fractured kingdoms, are hoarding stores. You wouldn't know. You're too far away. You don't even know if your emperor is still alive. Here's a broader view from the British Isles to the rice fields of the Yangtze. The climate anomaly of 536 has ruptured trade networks. No surplus. No stability. Every region turns inward. Isolation becomes default. The world is shrinking. And your part of it is shrinking fastest. In the next village over, someone tried to ride out. A farmer took his last goat and a bundle of straw, headed toward the coast. He returned 4 days later on foot. The goat was gone. So were his shoes. He didn't speak for a week. When he finally did, all he said was, "There's nothing." You believe him. You see it in the roads. The silence. The empty carts. The broken signs. The paths that used to pulse with life now sit in silence, wrapped in fog. You try to help your neighbor bury a collapsed roof beam. He's too weak to lift it. So are you. You both sit beside the wreckage and talk about nothing. You mention for no reason that you once tasted dates. He doesn't believe you. Neither do you. Let's visit China for a moment, specifically the Northern Wei dynasty. Records there mention a great darkness and the failure of heaven. Crops die. Rivers vanish. People migrate trying to chase warmth and food, but it's like trying to catch breath in a dream. Back in your village, a child eats clay. No one stops her. You're too tired. She's too young to understand. Someone hands her water. She spits it out. Her face is streaked with soot. She giggles. The sound is terrifying. That night, you meet a man on the path out of town. He's holding a bag made of stitched rags. He looks at you with hollow eyes and says he's heading south. You ask why. He shrugs. Why not? He leaves. You don't follow. You sit on the edge of the road and eat the last piece of bark bread you had hidden in your cloak. It's hard as rock. You suck on it until it softens. It doesn't. You chew anyway. When you return to the village, someone has stolen your firewood. You sit in your hut and stare at the bare hearth. The cold creeps in like smoke in reverse. You lie on your side, curled up tight. You tell yourself that trade will return, that people will rebuild, that roads can open again, that spices will come back. You even whisper the word cinnamon, just to remember what it feels like. It sounds like a spell from another world. You close your eyes. The road stays silent. The world keeps shrinking. There's a rumor someone boiled bones, not animal bones, human. You're not sure if it's true. No one says it directly. It's always someone in the next village or a traveler told me, or I heard it in a dream. But the silence that follows the rumor, the way everyone looks away when it's spoken, tells you what you need to know. Things are unraveling. You hold your bowl tighter that night. It's empty, but the gesture comforts you. Like a child gripping a favorite toy, as if the memory of warmth might keep your hands from shaking. It doesn't. You sip water that tastes like rust. You chew a piece of leather strap. You pretend it's jerky. You suck it until your teeth ache. You used to be disgusted by rot. Now you sniff food only to decide how dangerous it is. Not whether you'll eat it, but how long the sickness might last. You've gotten good at throwing up quietly. Your reflection in the rain barrel shocks you. Your cheeks have caved in. Your eyes look too large. You can see every tendon in your neck when you tilt your head. You look like the drawings monks used to show of famine saints, except they glowed with holiness. You just stink. Let's touch on a scholarly note. Some historians believe this collapse of temperature, sunlight, and agriculture in 536 created the perfect conditions for large-scale desperation. Not just physical hunger, but societal disintegration. Communities broke apart. Moral boundaries blurred. Ritual cannibalism has been debated not universally, not everywhere, but the records grow quiet around certain years. Silence can be a kind of evidence. You try to pray, but the words sound hollow now. You say them anyway, if only to fill the space, if only to tell yourself you haven't forgotten how. Your body still remembers. You pass the old granary. No one guards it now. It's just a hollow shell. Once it held sacks of grain beans, lentils, millet. Now wind whistles through its broken boards like a mockery. You stop and rest your back against its side. You think about what you'd do if someone did offer you meat. Real meat. From a source you didn't want to know. Would you eat it? You want to say no. You really do. But you remember your cousin, her last breath, her blue fingers. And you're not sure anymore. In the afternoon, a woman collapses in the village square. She's new. You've seen her once before, one of the ones who fled the hills. Her skin is stretched tight over her skull. Her arms twitch as she falls. No one moves at first. Then a man runs forward, checks her pulse, says nothing. Someone covers her with a cloth. That's all. You think about the old stories, of wolves that walk like men, of spirits that feed on fear, of ancient curses that cause the sun to vanish. You used to laugh at them. Now you wonder if any are real, because something has cursed this year. You'd bet your life on it. Oh wait, you already have. Let's take a look at Egypt, once the breadbasket of the ancient world. In 536, it too falters. Nile floods fail. Harvests die. The grain fleets to Constantinople slow. The empire begins to buckle. Even the gods of grain seem to have turned their faces away. One priest in your village still tries to light candles at dusk. He sings hymns to an empty shrine. You respect his persistence, but you don't join him. Tonight the fire won't start. You strike flint until your fingers bleed. The kindling is damp. You curse. Then you laugh. Then you cry. You can't tell which is which anymore. In the dark, your stomach twists like it's trying to consume itself. You lie on your side, pull the blanket over your face, and pretend it's spring. You pretend the birds are chirping. You pretend the wolves are just dogs. You pretend the bones in the woods aren't human. You close your eyes. You whisper the word, enough. But it's not a prayer. It's a wish. You start the morning with a nosebleed. It's not dramatic, just a trickle sudden and sour sliding over your upper lip before you realize. You wipe it away with your sleeve and stare at the rusty smear. Your gums have bled before. Your fingers split in the cold. But this is new. Your body is telling you something. You just don't want to know what. You used to get headaches from hunger. Now they come from standing up too fast, from turning your head too quickly, from remembering. Your joints ache like someone's poured gravel into them. Every movement grinds. You shuffle to the stream to wash your face. It's lower again, just a sluggish trickle. You scoop water with both hands and drink too fast, too cold. It hits your stomach like a stone. Still better than nothing. A few steps away, someone else is drinking. A woman. Kneeling head, bowed still. You speak, but she doesn't respond. She's not drinking. You step closer. Her hands are in the water limp. Her mouth is open. You don't check for breath. You just walk away. Let's zoom out to the west. In Gaul, chroniclers are beginning to write of strange weather, of famines, of portents in the sky, red moons, dogs howling for hours, flocks of birds dropping from the air mid-flight. Some say the air itself is poisoned. Others say it's penance for sin. You don't know what sin would merit this. You know you've lied. You've stolen. Once you kicked a man who tried to take your bread. You didn't mean to hit him that hard. You didn't mean to keep the bread either. You just didn't stop. You spend your afternoon trying to patch your roof. It leaks now. Even without rain, the mist clings to the wood, seeps into the thatch. Everything you own is damp. Your blanket, your mat, your boots. You've begun to smell like a bog, earthy, sour, and slow. The thatch crumbles in your hands. You stop trying. Back inside, your mother boils water and drops in dried nettles. It turns the color of pond scum. You drink it anyway. It burns. You're not sure if that's good. Let's talk about light. Candles are rare now. Wax is gone. Tallow is dangerous. You don't waste fat. Firewood is too precious to burn just for visibility. So the nights have grown longer than time itself. You count time by breaths, by shifts in the wind, by the creak of a roof beam you know will collapse soon. You go outside at dusk just to remember stars. You don't find them, just clouds, gray on gray. That night you dream of animals, deer, cows, chickens, so many chickens. Their feathers soft and real. You chase them laughing. Then they rot in your arms. You wake with the taste of ashes in your mouth. You used to wake hungry. Now you wake afraid. Because your body's getting quiet. Not better. Not peaceful. Just slow. Too slow. You stand up and your knees buckle. You rest. You try again. It takes longer. You've noticed your memory fading. Words feel slippery. Names drift just out of reach. You know your cousin's name, but sometimes you hesitate before saying it. You forget what day it is. You forget what a feast feels like. You forgot the word for spoon the other day. You pointed and said, hand tool. Your mother didn't laugh. She just nodded. You tell yourself it's the cold, or fatigue, not starvation, but you know better. There's a moment late at night when you sit awake and trace your ribs. Count them like beads. You've done this before. It's become a ritual, something to pass the darkness. Your skin is thin now. You feel every edge. You wonder if your body is shrinking to make room for nothing. You remember the word enough. You said it last night, but you say it again. Not to beg, just to mark the time. You don't believe in rescue anymore, but you haven't given up. Not yet, because tomorrow might be slightly less cruel. And that's enough to wait for. The world smells like rot today. You open your door, and the stench hits you thick and humid despite the cold. It clings to everything, your clothes, your hair, your teeth. It's not just death. It's decay. The wet, slow unraveling of things that once lived. You cover your nose with a sleeve. It doesn't help. Something's rotting nearby. You don't want to find it, but you do anyway. It's the storage shed behind the old mill. The door is ajar. Flies fat and slow drift lazily in the gloom. You push it open with your foot. Inside sacks of grain. Forgotten, spoiled, swollen with moisture and filth. Maggots squirming between kernels. And beneath the sacks, you step back. You don't look closer. You don't need to. There's a foot. Pale, bloated shoe still on. You close the door and walk away. Later, someone boards it shut. No one talks about it. Let's turn our gaze to the Near East. Around this time, Syrian scribes begin recording a year without harvest. They speak of a dark sun and men eating herbs of the field as beasts. Some write about strange diseases, ones that linger in the blood, ones that make the skin blacken. But not just in Syria. In the south, in Egypt, and across the Mediterranean, illness begins to stir. You don't know it yet, but what you're living through is only part one. A bigger nightmare is coming. The plague. But you're not there yet. Today, you're just trying to survive the rot. You help dig a ditch behind the meeting hall. Not for water, not for grain, for garbage. Spoiled food, broken tools, bedding that smells too strongly of sickness. Someone jokes it's a second graveyard. No one laughs. You pass a woman combing her hair with a fork. She does it slowly, deliberately, though her hair is thin and matted. She hums to herself, something soft, almost melodic. Her eyes are vacant. You wonder if she still sees the world the same way. You sit beside the stream, the same one that once shimmered and sang. Now it sulks heavy and yellowed. You don't drink from it anymore. You just watch it go. You think of rivers and stories, ones that lead to golden cities, ones that part seas or carry heroes. This one just carries mud. You speak aloud to no one, I miss color. It feels like betrayal. But it's true. Everything is gray and brown and dead. Even the wind feels beige. Let's talk about superstition. With the sun gone, and the rot creeping, and the world unraveling, people begin to invent reasons. You hear murmurs about a cursed relic, about a witch in the woods, about a boy born with two shadows. Someone says the ground is angry. You believe them. Because why not? What else explains this endless unraveling? Your own body has changed too. Your nails are cracked. Your tongue is swollen at the edges. You can't smell things right anymore. Everything has the scent of mildew, even clean air, if that exists. Tonight, you find a scrap of cloth tucked behind a beam. It's red. Bright, absurdly red. You stare at it. You don't know what it came from, a banner, a tunic, a ribbon. You just hold it in your lap. You don't cry, but your throat tightens. You slip it into your pocket, like a promise. When the stars come out, if they come out, you look for shapes you used to know. You find none. The sky has shifted, or maybe you've forgotten. Maybe everything's forgetting. You lie down on the hard mat. Your joints throb. Your lips are dry. You whisper tomorrow. And you mean it. Not as hope, but as a dare. The fever has started. You wake soaked, chilled through, but slick with sweat, as if your body can't decide what season it's in. Your mat is damp. Your clothes stick to your back. Your heartbeat stumbles. This isn't the kind of sick you felt before. Not the cough, not the hunger fatigue. This is deep, wrong, like something's watching you from inside your own skin. You sit up slowly, The room spinning like a drunkard's tale. The walls seem farther away than they should. Your hands tremble. Your first thought is not now. You don't have time to be sick. You don't have the strength. But your body doesn't ask permission. All day, you drift in and out of a haze. You try to stand, but your knees buckle. Your mouth is dry, yet water tastes bitter. You lie down, get up, lie down again. Your mother touches your forehead once. Her eyes say what her mouth won't. She's seen this before, and she knows what comes next. Let's shift east again briefly. In Persia, records begin to show murmurs of a different kind of catastrophe, not just starvation, but illness spreading fast. Too fast. A wave, not a trickle. The bones of this famine have begun to rot from within. You are part of that rot now. Your skin burns, then freezes. You try to remember the names of saints' gods, old spells, anything. But nothing comes. Just pieces. Just syllables. You see your cousin again. She's standing in the doorway. But she's not. You blink. She's gone. The fever brings visitors that aren't real. You speak to them anyway. You hear the wolves again that night. They don't howl this time. They just breathe. Close. Outside the hut, something knocks. Not hard. Once, then twice. You sit up, heart racing. You say, "Who is it?" But you already know no one will answer. Then silence. No scratching. No footsteps. Just stillness. Later you find a tooth on the doorstep. A wolf's, a dog's human. You don't know. You leave it there. Let's consider a strange historical point in the Byzantine world. Dream visions during illness were often recorded by scribes, as if the veil between living and dead was thinnest during fever. You're not sure if that's true. But tonight the veil is gauze. You see people in your dreams. People you knew. People you didn't. A man with no eyes. A woman with wings. A child laughing in reverse. You wake in a puddle of sweat, mouth open, hands clenched. Your nails have left marks on your palms. You taste blood. You try to say your name. It comes out wrong. By dawn, the fever breaks, but only slightly. You're still burning, but you can move again. You crawl to the doorway, let the wind touch your skin. It feels like sandpaper, but you welcome it. You think, if I'm going to die, let it happen where there's light. Not in the dark, not like her. You sleep sitting up, because lying down feels like sinking, and you're not ready to sink. Not yet. You lean against the doorway longer than you should, watching nothing happen. The wind doesn't whistle. The trees don't sway. Even the smoke from the village center curls slowly, like it's tired too. You wonder what it would feel like to sleep standing up. If you could lean into the silence and just disappear. Someone walks by, sees you, nods. Their face is gray with soot and hunger. You think their name might be Mara or Mila or something close. You've stopped being sure of anyone's names, even your own sometimes. They ask, "Still sick?" You nod. They don't say anything else. They just keep walking. You crawl back inside, wrap yourself in a cloak stiff with salt from dried sweat. You listen to your stomach echo. No one brings you food today? Not out of cruelty, just forgetfulness. Everyone's wrapped in their own slow collapse. You consider eating your pillow stuffing. You don't. Not yet. That night the fever rises again, but differently. This time it's not fire, it's weight. You feel like you're made of bricks. Every breath is effort. You blink slowly, unsure if time is passing or if you're just frozen. The wolves don't return, but you wish they would. At least they're alive. You don't remember falling asleep. But you wake with dirt under your nails and blood on your lip. Not a dream this time. You must have crawled in the night, maybe to the door, maybe to the stream, maybe to nothing. Your hands are scraped, your knees bruised. Your mouth tastes like copper and soil. Your first thought is, did I eat something? Your second is, was it alive? You don't answer either question, not out loud. You just sit up slowly, spine crackling, vision blurry. Your hut smells like illness and cold sweat. You try to wash your face with snow, what little clings to the ground, but it melts on contact with your skin like it's afraid of you. You're not surprised. You're afraid of you too. Outside, someone is singing, not a real song. Just a hum, thin and off key. You crawl to the door. It's the priest. He's sitting on a stone face turned toward the sky. He's blind, now, has been for weeks. The sickness took his sight, but not his songs. He hums morning prayers that no one else remembers. You don't join in, but you don't stop him either. You realize for the first time in days that the birds are gone. No chirping, no flutters, no distant wings. It's been weeks, maybe months. Even the crows have vanished. You wonder what that means. You decide not to wonder too hard. Let's peek at the historical edge in parts of Germania. There were accounts scrawled onto damp scrolls or whispered to monks of sky burials, where corpses were left on rooftops in the hopes birds might carry the soul away. But when the birds stopped coming, the souls stayed. Your village is full of them now, souls with no exit. The fever's still with you, but it's softer today, like it's watching, waiting. You try to eat a bit of boiled acorn mashed with water and salt. It tastes like bitterness and bark. You finish it anyway. That's something. The healer visits. Her face is tight. She asks you to stick out your tongue. She frowns. Then quietly, she asks if you've had visions. You say yes. She nods like she expected that. She doesn't ask what they were. She leaves a bundle of dried roots. You recognize none of them. She tells you to steep them in water and drink. It may help. It may not. You thank her. That night, you drink the tea. It tastes like mud and iron. You sleep deeper. You dream of heat, not fire sun. The real sun, the old one, the one that touched your neck and made you sweat in joy. You dream of walking through a field of golden wheat, hands brushing the tips, your skin warm and full. You wake shivering. There is no sun, just mist and shadow. You curl tighter under the blanket and whisper, not to a god, but to the dream. Please come back. Let's take one more wide look. Byzantium is cracking. Ships have stopped docking. Messengers die mid-route. Monasteries overflow. Even the nobles are beginning to ration wine. Some have fled inland away from the ports. Why? Because now the rumors aren't about rot. They're about rats and ships and death coming from the sea. But that plague is still days away from your landlocked misery. For now, your world is quiet. Too quiet. Tonight, you light a candle stub. You shouldn't fat is precious, but you need the flame. You watch it flicker soft and orange like something from a better world. It dances. And for 5 whole minutes, you almost remember what warmth felt like. Almost. The snow comes late and wrong. It isn't fluffy. It doesn't fall in soft, playful drifts. It doesn't crunch beneath your boots. It's wet gray and heavy like ashes soaked in cold milk. It slaps the ground instead of settling, and when it melts, it turns the earth to soup. You stand in it anyway, because it's different. And different is all you're hoping for these days. You stretch out a hand, catch a clump of it, let it dissolve on your palm. It leaves behind grit. Not clean. Not fresh. Just damp. You wonder what real snow felt like. Someone says it's the beginning of spring. You try not to laugh. What does spring mean in a year without sun? There are no buds, no new leaves, no birdsong, no sweet breezes. Just melting rot and the stink of thawed bodies buried too shallow. You helped pull one out today. Someone's hut collapsed. No one noticed. Weeks passed. Then the smell came. A group of you dig together in silence. Gloves, scarves. No one has those anymore. Just bare fingers and torn tunics. You find the man curled beneath his bed. His eyes are gone. Rats. Probably. You say nothing. You rebury him deeper. Then someone says, "We're lucky it's still cold." They're right. Rot is slower that way. Let's dip into a strange scholarly tidbit. In parts of early Scandinavia, stories spoke of a sun wolf who swallowed daylight during the end of days. The people would light bonfires and shout into the darkness, hoping to scare it away. This year, even the bravest are whispering. You try to plant something. A desperate gesture. A few beans saved in a cracked cup. You dig a hole in the slush and press them in. They'll never grow. But planting them makes you feel human again for just 1 hour. The sun doesn't show. The soil doesn't respond. But your fingers remember the motion. That's enough. Someone in the village swears the sky changed color last night. A blue tinge like twilight, but wrong. You missed it. You were inside trying to repair your mat with twine. Now you wonder if you should have looked up more. Maybe the sky would have answered. Maybe not. The priest finally stops singing. You find him on the hill, eyes closed, face peaceful. His mouth still parted in mid-hymn. He froze there, arms crossed over his chest. You help carry him down. There is no funeral, just a shallow grave. But you hum a verse while you dig. The words are nonsense. Or maybe they're old prayers you forgot you knew. That night, wolves return. But they stay outside the village. You sit by your door dagger in hand, not because you're brave, just because it's something to hold. Something solid. They don't come closer. Maybe they're waiting for someone weaker, or maybe even wolves are afraid now. Let's pivot to trade again briefly. In India, ships have stopped coming from the west. Spices rot in abandoned warehouses. Cloth dyes fade from disuse. The ocean winds have changed, some say permanently. Others say they're cursed. You hear none of this directly. But you know change when you feel it. Everything that moved is still now. Everything still is dying. The village well is lower than it's ever been. A boy dropped a ladle today and cried. No one mocked him. You all wanted to cry too. Tonight, you lie on your back and whisper every color you can remember. Red, saffron, cobalt, turquoise, olive, madder. You run out of words long before you run out of longing. Your breath fogs in the air. You draw a sun with your finger in the frost on the wall. It melts. You do it again anyway. You wake to bells. Real ones. Clanging, sharp, uneven. Not the soft village chimes for prayer or mourning. These are foreign, iron-heavy, urgent. You sit up too quickly, and the world lurches sideways. The sound echoes off the frozen mud, off the empty huts, off your own bones. Then you hear shouting. You drag yourself outside. There on the ridge above the trail that leads nowhere, a figure, hooded, standing atop a cart, not a trader, not a priest. A herald. The villagers emerge like ghosts, blinking in the pale light. You count faces you thought were gone. Some are still missing. The herald unrolls a parchment, holds it with shaking hands, and begins to read. His voice is hoarse, not from age, from thirst. By order of the Exarch of Ravenna, he begins. All settlements are hereby warned, you stop listening. Because you see the mark painted on the side of the cart. A black X. A warning. You already know what this is about. It's not just the cold anymore. It's the plague. Not the small ones. Not a cough. Not a fever. Not a rot of limbs. This one moves. Like fire. Like wind. From port to village to field. You step back. Others do too. The herald keeps speaking, has been declared unclean. Trade prohibited. Contact discouraged. Fires shall be lit at perimeter. He coughs, long and hard. No one moves to help him. Let's pause on a chilling historical truth. The Justinianic plague, which began in the early 540s, may have roots in the chaos of 536. The soil was weakened. Bodies were weakened. Trade routes fractured but not closed. Enough movement to spread death. Not enough to stop it. You're ahead of the worst, but not far enough. You retreat to your hut. You bolt the door. As if wood can stop a sickness carried on breath. You boil water. Drop in mint. Just for the smell. Just for memory. It doesn't help. Your neighbor burns herbs outside their door. The smoke smells sharp, like hope turned bitter. You add your own offering crushed garlic old resin. You choke on the fumes. But you feel safer, even if it's foolish. That night, someone sets fire to the village path. Not all of it, just the grass leading to the road. The flames rise fast, devour dry twigs, and hiss into smoke. It's not just a warning, it's a line. They're saying, don't come here. You agree. You help carry water to stop the fire from spreading too far. You cough for hours afterward. Your hands blister. It was worth it. Let's circle to Constantinople. The emperors still rule. But their halls are quieter. Their robes more threadbare. The sick are in the streets now, nobles beside beggars. The palace burns incense to mask the stench. But scent can't stop death. You dream of ships. Hundreds of them sails full, gliding silently. You are aboard one, holding a torch. Below deck bodies. You're the only one breathing. You wake with a scream caught in your throat. No one hears it. Outside, it snows again. Black this time. Not soot ash. You taste it on your tongue and wonder where it came from. A forest fire. A town burned to cinders, or the sky itself collapsing. You close your eyes. You whisper to the walls, let this be the worst. But even you don't believe it anymore. The rats are bolder now. Not just one or two darting shadows at the edge of night. Whole families' nests tucked beneath broken beams, and inside forgotten grain sacks. You catch one staring at you this morning. Fat fur slick with filth, its tiny eyes gleaming with something like indifference. You don't chase it. You envy it. It's warm. It's fed. It has nowhere to be. The village has grown too quiet again. Not the hush of sleep, but the stillness of loss. More huts have gone dark. More chimneys cold. The healer hasn't come out in 2 days. You begin to count the healthy. You don't need more than 2 hands. Someone buries a child behind the prayer hall. You help. No words are said. You just dig shallow, but careful. You wrap the body in linen. Thin arms. Blue lips. You place a flower on the mound. It's dead too. The black X has spread. Someone painted one on your hut. You try not to take it personally. Let's step back into the empire records from Edessa, Antioch. Alexandria all begin to speak of black sores, madness, and breath like sulfur. The words change, the fear does not. Some believe it's divine wrath. Others poison in the wind. Others still say it's from the east, carried by ghosts. You know none of this, but you smell it in the air. You're burning rosemary when the child appears. Thin, quiet, eyes too big. She just stands there at the edge of your doorway, not knocking, not speaking, holding something in both hands, a rat dead and stiff. You take it. You don't ask why. You don't ask where she got it. You just nod. She leaves. You build a fire, and you cook it. Let's pause on a fringe, historical tidbit. In some isolated villages, rodent stew became the last line between life and death. Some monks wrote of it as a sin, others as mercy. Some claimed it gave them visions. You just get protein. You eat slowly, tearing small pieces with your teeth. You gag once, then you finish it, bones and all. You sleep better that night. Not well, just better. You dream of candles, hundreds of them floating in water, lighting a path through a cave. At the end, a door. You reach for it. Behind you, someone whispers your name. You turn. You wake. It's raining. For real this time. A soft, steady drizzle, cold but pure. You stretch out your arms and let it wash over your skin. The dirt runs from your fingers like ink. You laugh. The first real sound in days. And then you sob. Because the rain reminds you that the sky still works. That something still falls when gravity calls it. That maybe not now, not soon, but someday things might grow again. A boy walks past you carrying a pail to collect water. He doesn't speak, just lifts it toward the sky like an offering. You nod. You gather your own pot. You boil it just in case. That night the fire crackles stronger. You sip warm broth made from old roots and memories. You add a sprig of mint. You feel human. You light your last candle. You let it burn all the way down. Because now isn't the time for saving. Now is the time for remembering that you are still here. Even if the world forgot the sun, the healer is gone. Not dead, just gone. Her hut is empty, her fire cold, her bundles of herbs neatly hung, but untouched. You find no sign of struggle, just absence. Like she stepped out for water and never came back. Someone says she wandered into the hills. Others claim she was taken. One boy insists she turned into a crow and flew away. No one really argues. You just add her name to the list in your head. You've stopped writing them down. Ink is too precious now. You take over her tasks in part. Not because you're trained, not because you believe, just because someone must. You boil willow bark. You wrap cloths around trembling limbs. You hum songs with no melody to those too far gone to notice. You sleep less. You hear breathing in the dark. Not yours, not close, but steady. Let's turn toward Constantinople once more. The plague is there now, truly there. Ships bob in harbor with no one aboard. The docks reek of rot and silence. The emperor hides in his chambers, wrapped in perfumed cloth, lighting incense until the walls disappear in smoke. Even his servants have begun to vanish. You don't know any of this firsthand, but somehow you feel it, like the world is holding its breath, like something is pulling at the edge of your bones. Let's talk about fire again. Someone starts burning houses. Not random ones, abandoned huts, long since emptied. A group of villagers decides they're unclean. You watch them douse the thatch in oil, then light it. Flames bloom like flowers in the dusk. You don't stop them. You almost help. It feels good to see something burn that deserves to go. Later smoke clings to the sky like a bruise. And everything smells like endings. A fringe, historical detail, some remote communities turn their dead homes into shrines, placing stones around them to mark memory. Others burn them outright, believing that ash purged spirits. Your village has chosen fire. You visit one of the ruins the next morning. ashes still warm. A cracked mug survives in the soot. You pocket it, not out of need, but out of spite. You sip tea from it that night like it's gold. It leaks slightly from a hairline crack. You don't mind. You walk the edge of the village daily now, just to feel distance, just to see how far silence reaches. Some days you see fox tracks, once a deer. You follow it briefly knowing you'll never catch it, just to remember that something still moves. One morning, you hear music, a pipe. High, reedy, simple. You follow the sound to the stream. The boy with the pail from earlier is playing it badly, but proudly. He's carved it from an old reed. His cheeks puff. He plays until he coughs. You clap. He grins. You sit together for a while. You ask him where he learned. He shrugs. Didn't. Just tried. You nod. Later you try too. Your attempt sounds like a wounded goat. He laughs. It's the first real laugh you've heard in weeks. It echoes. You wish someone had painted that moment. But the only place it lives is here. In this silence. This surviving. That night you share a cup of thin soup with an old woman who lost her family months ago. She tells you stories of summers past, too vivid, too fragrant to be lies. You close your eyes and imagine shade under grapevines bred with honey a warm lake. You cry quietly. She pats your hand. You both drink in silence. You sleep better. The fever is gone now. Your breath feels fuller. Your legs stronger. You don't celebrate. You don't trust it. But you take it. One day at a time. The air feels different today. It's not warmer, no, but it moves. Not like the still dead weight of the past months, but a restless breeze that dances through the trees stirs. Your hair carries the scent of something not entirely awful. You taste pine. Damp moss. A hint of thaw. It's not spring, but it's something. You sit outside longer than usual, watching clouds actually shift. Not dissolve into mist or smother the horizon, but drift like they're supposed to. You count them slowly. 1, 2, 3. Then you lose track and laugh. You haven't laughed without guilt in months. Someone finds a sprout, a real one, green, tiny, clinging to the edge of a ditch. It's too soon for it to survive, but you gather around anyway. No one touches it. You just look. A dozen filthy, hollow-eyed people staring at a leaf like it's a comet. Later, someone builds a fence around it. No one suggests eating it. That's how much it matters. You help clean the old granary, not because there's anything in it, but because it gives you purpose. You sweep ashes, straighten collapsed shelves. You find an old boot, a wooden spoon, a child's carved toy shaped like a pig. You place the toy on a beam, as if waiting for someone to claim it. No one does. Let's widen the lens in far-off Rome. What's left of the old empire is more rumor than government. In Persia, the king of kings dreams of conquest but sends no troops. In Britain, the petty kingdoms fight over mud. No one's winning. Everyone's enduring. You didn't need historians to tell you that. You could have guessed. You help mend someone's cloak, stitching slowly with dull bone needles and thread pulled from unraveling bags. Your fingers are stiff, but the movement reminds you of your mother's hands, swift, sure, humming a tune from before the darkness. You hum it too. It comes out cracked, a fringe historical note. Some communities created hope walls, literally walls of colored stones, or hand-marked wood, added to each time something improved. A day without a death. A new plant. A dream with color. No records remain, but the traces are still carved in stone near some forgotten ruins. You begin carving your own marks behind your hut. Just scratches for now. One for warmth, one for soup, one for that green leaf. It helps. The rats have vanished. Or maybe they're just somewhere else now. Either way, you stop hearing their claws at night. You stop waking with bites on your ankles. It's strange, missing a predator. But it makes you feel like something has changed. You watch the boy with the pipe teach another child to play. The notes wobble. Birds would scream. But you listen anyway. Someone bakes flatbread. It's awful burnt on one side, soggy on the other. But you take a piece. You chew slowly. You taste smoke and grain and effort. It's the best thing you've eaten all year. A woman sings while she stirs the pot. No one stops her. In fact, someone joins in. Not harmony, just layers. You almost don't recognize it, Joy. It's fragile, like frost on a petal. But it's real. You walk to the edge of the village at dusk. The sky is still mostly gray, but somewhere, far in the west, a strip of orange flickers. Not bright. Not enough to cast a shadow. But you see it, and for the first time, you truly believe the sun is still there. You sleep with the door unlatched. You dream of color again, and this time, you remember the names. Ochre, indigo, pear, carmine. You whisper them like a prayer, like a list of lost friends. And when you wake, the air still moves. And nothing smells like death. You don't wake up in fear today. Not from hunger or pain or noise, just the soft pressure of your own breath rising and falling against the fabric of your blanket. It's not warm, but it's not unbearable. For once, you don't feel like a ghost inside your own skin. You stretch. Your joints crack, but it doesn't hurt. Your feet touch the floor and stay steady. Outside, the wind carries the scent of wet earth. Actual earth, not rot, not mildew, not ash. You kneel and touch the ground. It's soft. Cold, but not frozen. It crumbles between your fingers, like it's inviting you to use it again. You go to the spot where the little green sprout was. It's taller now. A second leaf has appeared. Someone has left a bowl of water beside it. Someone else laid a pebble next to the stem. It looks like a shrine. You leave a strand of hair, an offering. You spend the morning helping rebuild a fence. It's crooked. The logs don't match. The rope is fraying. But it stands. When the wind hits it, it holds. Everyone stands back to admire it like it's a fortress. Someone jokes, only 100 more to go. You all laugh, and this time, it's not bitter. Let's take one final long view. In the years that follow, 536, the earth very slowly begins to recover. Sunlight creeps back. The sky finds its color. Crops inch out of the soil, but nothing returns to the way it was. It can't. Too much has changed. Too much has been lost. You endure. You plant seeds. Not many. Just 3. Lentils. You think. Or peas. You don't even know if they're still good. But your hands remember the shape of planting. The muscle memory is comforting. You sit beside the dirt for a long time afterward, just watching. Someone offers you stew later that day. It has real vegetables in it. Not just roots and wild things, but chopped greens. You can't name them. You don't ask where they came from. You savor every bite. You help clean the temple, not for religion, just for space. To gather, to tell stories. Someone hangs a strip of dyed cloth above the door. It's red, like that old scrap you once found. You bring it from your pocket and lay it beside the new one. They match. Your mother combs her hair. You hadn't realized how long it's grown. She cuts it slowly, then ties the braid with thread. You say nothing, just smile. The boy with the pipe now has an audience. Three kids sit and listen, clapping too early, laughing too loud. One starts singing along, off-key, fearless. It's awful. It's beautiful. You carve more marks behind your hut. One for stew, one for fence, one for that second leaf. Then you keep carving, because now you believe there will be more. A new child is born, tiny, pink, crying. Not the first in your village, but the first one born after the darkness, after the rot, after the silence. You hold the child briefly. Its skin is impossibly soft, its eyes not yet open. You say welcome. You mean it. You walk to the edge of the woods. The trees are still bare, but they creak like they remember wind. You place a hand on the bark and whisper a word you haven't spoken in months. Live. Not as a command, not as a plea, just a simple truth. You return home, close the door gently, and light a candle. You let it burn, all the way down, because the dark may return. But tonight, it has somewhere else to go. So now, you lie down. The fire is low, but it doesn't need to be high tonight. Your bones are tired, but not from dread. Your breath is slow, steady, yours. Outside, the earth breathes too, quietly, patiently, healing. You're not warm, not yet, but you're no longer cold in your soul. And maybe, just maybe, the sun will rise tomorrow and mean it. You close your eyes. You hear the rustle of cloth, the crunch of someone walking past your hut, not running, not shouting, just walking, living. The little sprout by the ditch will grow, or it won't, but it tried, and that's enough. You rest your hand on your chest. Feel the steady rhythm beneath your skin. You think of color, not as memory, but as promise. Red, yellow, blue, green. You hum softly. That song your mother used to sing, the one with no words, just breath and hope, and you drift. Not into darkness, but into stillness, into the slow, gentle unfolding of a world not yet gone, into rest, into peace, into sleep.